Hi everyone. I've been asked a lot lately on how to set up Parsec to play online games with people via the Yuzu Nintendo Switch emulator. Parsec is a low latency remote desktop tool that works with controllers and passes their inputs through to the host on the other side of the connection. This tutorial is mainly aimed at GameCube controllers, but can be of value to you if you use other types of controllers as well. So with that being said, by popular demand, here is the tutorial on how to set up yourself, running up as a client, to connect to someone who is a host, running Yuzu on their computer, so that you can play Yuzu with minimal input delay, and in some cases, not too much different than playing offline with the other player right next to you. So first things first, I will not be going over on how to set up Yuzu itself if you want to be a host. Since you need a pretty powerful PC to keep Yuzu running at 60 FPS, and only the host needs to actually run it, it is not something that everyone in the community will need to set up in order to take advantage of Parsec. Thus, the scope of this video is only for setting up the client-side specifics of Parsec and getting the controllers to function. So first off, you will need to get your GameCube adapter connected to Parsec. There are two major types of adapters right now that people are using, the Mayflash adapter and the official Nintendo adapter. The Mayflash adapter has a small switch on the back of it that toggles between PC mode and Wii U and Switch mode. Toggling the switch to PC mode and plugging it in to an available USB slot on your PC would be all you need to do for your PC to automatically detect it and install its device drivers. If you have the official Nintendo adapter, you will need to install a specific driver for this to work. Note that the driver link is in the description down below. Now, word of caution, if you have the Zadig driver that the Dolphin emulator uses, if you've used that before to play, say, Slippy Melee or some other Dolphin emulation, the driver you install here may still not work, and you would need to uninstall the Zadig driver first. And the easiest way to do that is to open up your device management with this run command, which will open up all your USB devices, and you can find it and uninstall it. Once your possible Zadig driver is uninstalled and you've installed this driver, your controller adapter should be picked up by Parsec, and you can map your control settings just as with the Mayflash adapter. So you want to make sure your controller is connected in Parsec. So in order to do that, open your Parsec, go to Settings here, go to Gamepad, and currently it's detecting my Mayflash controller set to PC. You want to make sure your controller is getting detected here. And then you can go ahead and unmap certain things. Back and guide don't exist on a GameCube controller. Left stick and R stick down don't exist on a GameCube controller. And GameCube controller doesn't have a left side Z button. So you can unmap those things. And then make sure A, B, X, and Y, and so on and so forth are all mapped properly. Now that you have a controller all set up as a client, you are free to connect to a host and play Yuzu with them. The host can generate a unique code on their end of Parsec to share with you, and you use that to connect to them. Something to note, as soon as you're connected to the host computer, be sure to hit any button on your controller a few times. Parsec does not automatically load the controller on the host's PC until it detects an input, so it's best practice to send an input immediately after connecting to the host. After you've done your button mapping in Parsec and you've connected to a host, make sure you go in under Emulation, Configure on Yuzu itself, and go to Controls, go to which player you're going to be connected as, and double check your buttons to make sure that they're not reversed, because sometimes these buttons can get reversed. So just click on them and then you hit your button to bind it to that button. So it's basically mapping it in Yuzu after Parsec. Also, for the C stick, I like to set a range of 80 with a dead zone of 50%. And on the L stick, I like to set a range of 70 with a dead zone of 10%. And that makes the sticks responsive and snappy. Now, if the host you're connecting to has the early access branch of Yuzu available through their Patreon, the normal input delay of the Nintendo Switch, it goes from 6 frames to 4 frames. The emulator knocks off 2 frames. So if a guest has 32 milliseconds or less ping, it's basically the same delay as if you were playing offline with the person right next to you. As we can see here, Magmatic Ruby has 80 milliseconds of ping on average, so that's an extra 5 frames. So he'll be playing with 9 frames of input delay, as opposed to 11 online, as online normally adds 5 frames on top of the Switch's native 6. And that concludes the client-side setup for the Yuzu emulator and Parsec. If you want to set up yourself as a Yuzu emulator host, I will link a tutorial for that in the description down below, as it is a step-by-step guide and it's pretty straightforward.